Yes, it's 5:30. If you would, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any questions? Any additions or alterations? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the October 26th meeting as presented? So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Okay. And we have the fiscal business. We have the fiscal officer's report. Linda?
The board has received copies of the appropriation status report, the fund status report, and the revenue status reports that brings you up to date as of today. And just to read to the record, the township currently has $13,800,603.60 in its checking and investment accounts.
Okay. We also have the current bills to pay. Anybody have any questions about the current bills? I see we have
Just four little ones.
four little additionals to add on to that. If no questions about the current bills, is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have resolution 4772, amending permanent appropriation resolutions with supplemental appropriations. It's taking money and moving some money in the police fund and the fire district. Jackie, anything particular you want to point out about that?
These are just the low
Year.
awards for this year. The certificate will be amended so we can put the money into those funds.
Is there a motion to approve 4772? So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Okay, thank you, Linda. Anybody have any questions for Linda before we move out of fiscal business?
I just have one thing, and before I forget, I want to mention to staff that at this point, we only have 6 weeks left in the year to just check your appropriation status and make sure you've got money in accounts. That will take you through the middle of January, because December bills usually don't come until early January. We still have to use 2015 money on those. It's just my annual reminder. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving into special activities, we have, I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Elizabeth Lease as the full-time member, term expiring November 30th, 2020, to the zoning board of appeals.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Beth, if you would come up and we'll administer the Thank you for serving and doing this. Again, we appreciate it. If you would, raise your right hand. I, and state your name,
Elizabeth Lease,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
required as a full member of the Board of Zoning Appeals
required as a full member of the Board of Zoning Appeals
of Clearcreek Township,
of Clearcreek Township,
to which office I have been appointed
to which office I have been appointed
according to the law and the best of my ability.
according to the law and the best of my ability.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
At this time, we do have a public hearing scheduled. I'd like to entertain a motion to recess the regular meeting and open the public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. We have resolution 4773, which is, I'm not gonna read all that, a resolution to rezone some property.
Brian's not here.
Yeah, except Brian.
He's gonna watch online.
We'll let Jeff just go right into his situation and say bye.
purpose of this evening is to look at 3 properties identified by 0815-328-0220, 0815-328-0210, and 0815-328-0230. Ultimately, we're in the red line area. We're in the triangle between 122, which is now old 122, and 741. Ultimately, this summer, there was a rezoning request for office on the southern part of the property that the church had bought to split so they could have a location for their leach field to expand into. When the zoning commission was done with that recommendation, there was discussion that maybe it was the time to look at surrounding properties that the church owns, since they have 3 chunks. The 3 parcels identified that come through and make a nice geometric shape. I'm sure it has a name. So they initiated the text amendment, realized that they had some statutory issues, talked with the Red Lion United Methodist Church and John Brewer to see if he would be agent for that. He accepted. Ultimately, what this would do is taking the property out of a residential classification would conform with the land use plan, but it would also take away the need for a conditional use permit process for the church. So they could put up some structures and do some things without having to go through another layer of bureaucracy. So that started the process. Ultimately went to Warren County Regional Planning. They looked at it in relation to the land use plan. Everything in red is anticipated to be commercial, but there's not a designation of how in-depth it should be. It should be office B1 or B2. B1 is necessary because it's identifiable to allow any non-residential, the residential zones to fall up or slide up, so to speak, into that classification. The office is more of a distinct oil, doesn't mix with the others. But a church is identifiable as non-residential in the R1, and the B1 says anything that was non-residential is a permitted use. So that's why the B1 was selected. We look at surrounding uses. We have B1 to the east and to the north, B2 to the west and to the north, and then we have office. We do have in the green an OSR1, and the white is residential R1. The discussion that the zoning commission had is how far down should they take this triangle to conform with the land use plan. The discussion was, let's take everything that is on the 741 side. So we do have the cul-de-sac of old 123. Never want to say that right. I always want to say 122 in that spot.
You did.
Sorry.
It's all right.
We knew what you were talking about.
But they wanted to see, since the rezoning request initially was to take a business that was located on the new cul-de-sac and move it to 741, they didn't want to establish additional commercial on the cul-de-sac until someone requested. So that was why they didn't do it as a total block. With that being said, zoning commission recommended approval. I can answer any questions in the board.
Anybody have any questions for Jim? Mr. Greer is here. Do you have anything you would like to present to the board?
No, just thanking the board for doing this. It can help everything, make the church property able to expand the way they'd like to follow through with community involvement.
I certainly have no objections to this request. It makes perfect sense to me. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to, I'd like to adjourn the public hearing. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw? Mr. Wade?
Yay. And now we will reconvene the regular meeting at approximately 5:40. And at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve 4773. So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Okay, anybody have anything under unfinished business before we move on? Thank you, Mr. Greer, for coming.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody have anything for unfinished business before we move on to new business? Okay. New business, first item on the agenda is the Township Administrator Jack Cameron's pay increase, effective as of September 22nd. That was Jack's initial hire date, as I recall. Well, no, is that it?
Well, yeah, September 22nd last year, yeah.
And so after his annual review, this is our recommendation. And anybody have any questions or comments about that? Is there a motion to approve this salary increase?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay?
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah.
I would assume that at this point, though, we can't say, well, he's new anymore, so when something happens, he can't use that excuse anymore.
right.
You can't say
That-
Exactly right.
What, there's like a 10-year rule, isn't
No.
there?
So's your wage.
No new guy, no new guy.
It was actually a
Alright,
10-month
alright.
rule. You didn't know you were off of it 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Thank you, Linda.
Anything I can do to help?
Okay, under the police district, we have a resolution accepting a donation from Enterprise Products Pipeline. Very nice of them.
Yeah, I believe the fire department's getting one as well. They called the other day and said, we'd like to donate some funds.
Yeah, no loss, no doubt. So motion to accept the donation from Enterprise.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. And then on item 2, we have resolution 4775. This is a resolution amending and revising Clearcreek Township Police Department policies and procedures for patrol administration. Sergeant, you got to tell us about that?
Sure. It's getting to be that time again where I have a CALIA assessment coming up. So I will be doing quite a bit of policy review and revisions to bring to you here in the next few months. But, this was the first one I needed to do as part of the LOE grant last year, the 2014 application. One of the things we applied for was some bicycles and equipment for bicycle patrol, and those bicycles are in, the equipment's in, and the chief told me I needed to get a policy so we could have direction for when and how to use that. So 41.1 has a section entitled Specialized Vehicles, which bicycles fall under. So that, I highlighted your copy so you can see what was new. Those policies are for the direction of the bicycle patrol program. That program is set up for when we have sufficient manpower and to be used to supplement our patrol. Gives us the opportunity, gives us the advantages of foot patrol with a little more mobility and the ability to do some community-oriented policing and get out and talk to people, and as well as hopefully do some deterrence and apprehension of some of the theft issues that we seem to have in our neighborhoods. So, but that policy was necessary for that. There's also in 41.3, but I guess we haven't really got to that yet. That's the next one.
Okay, let's do this one. Yeah, so I think you're gonna be working in the different neighborhoods in the township, probably more than, you're not gonna be probably going up and down Funnel Hill. but
No,
it's-
the idea is to get into the neighborhoods.
I think it's great.
We've had a lot of, one of our biggest problems is people coming into the township to steal from us. And thefts from autos, break-ins of sheds and garages, and burglaries are some of our biggest problems. And it's hard sometimes to make apprehensions in a police vehicle that's marked and has lights all over it and reflective tape. So this is an opportunity for our guys, when we have the sufficient manpower, to put somebody out in a neighborhood and hopefully catch some of these people in the act.
Hey, can I ask a question? I know we bought one of the bikes in May, and then we bought the other bike in August. And you said a couple times when we have sufficient manpower, we're not using those right now?
We have used them. The chief wanted me to get this policy in place before we started using them on a more regular basis. But the idea is to have, to at least have our minimum staffing covered before we put anybody out on a bike. So
I just assumed because we bought one in August after having bought one in May that it was really
Well,
successful, where you used it a lot.
I think the idea was we wanted to get one in so we could make sure that this was the bike that was gonna suit our needs before we ordered a second one for them.
Okay.
So that's why we ordered one first.
Where have you been using them, and is there a specific shift that you're using them on?
Well, they'll be used at night mostly, but we would like to get them out during the day and during the afternoon sometime when there's people out in neighborhoods to get some face-to-face contact as well. But we have, right now, the officers that are qualified to ride those bikes, they have to have some specialized training, are working from 7 at night till 7 in the morning, so it's mostly in the evening right now.
I don't, seems like that might be dangerous riding bikes around in the dark.
Well, they do have lighting and they do have reflective gear that they wear to try to make themselves as safe as possible.
I do see, I see a trend with bicycles, cops on bikes. Springboro certainly has quite a few, and I see them all times of day and night, they're out.
ICP says that about 51%, 52% of all the local agencies in the country are using them now, which only 99.5% were using vehicles, automobiles, which I thought was kind of strange. I figured 100% were, but apparently there's some that aren't.
It's get pretty good gas mileage.
Yeah, real good mileage.
I think it would be great, particularly in the summer when people are out walking and kids are out, that you can stop to talk to people.
It's a great community-oriented tool, and it's also a good way to get out and catch some of these thieves. And we'll also we'll have them available for special events, National Night Out, the torch run, and so those sort of things where they come in handy.
Have we made any arrests or chased anybody or?
Not as of yet, but again, the program's just kind of getting started, and now that the policy will be in place, we'll probably start using them on a more frequent basis.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about the 4775? Okay, anyone like to make a motion to accept 4775?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yes. And then following that up is 4776, a resolution amending and revising the Clearcreek Township Police Department procedures and patrol equipment.
Yeah,
76.
the general order that covers equipment is also the general order that covers our uniform guidelines. Because we have a little different uniform with the bicycle patrol, we have to amend that as well. So, and then when I got into that policy, I found that there were some other changes I needed to make, and rather than bring that policy to you 3 or 4 times, I decided I'd try to get that all knocked out one time. So, there's some changes to the dress uniform that I noted, and there's also changes to the video, in-car video policy that CLEA just changed their standard for in-car and body-worn cameras, because body-worn is such a hot topic. So their standards are much tighter than for video, and the retention of video and supervision, monitoring the videos being used correctly, so I had to make some changes to that.
Okay. And so far as the uniform for, part of this is for the bike?
Yes, the uniform changes are for the bicycle patrol. Except for, there is a notation for the dress uniforms. In years past, dress uniforms were supervisors and above. We now have dress jackets for all full-time patrol officers. So I had to make that change as well.
Okay. Anybody have any further questions on 4776? Is there a motion on 4776?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Okay, and then we have a purchase recommendation, night vision devices.
Yes.
EOTech, is that what that is?
Yeah, EOTech.
EOTech.
Yes.
EO.
The second part of the 2014 Loeb application was for night vision equipment. We had a couple of quotes, and Kiesler's was able to give us a pretty good discount, and about $4,000 less than what ProTech was. However, that's still a little more than the Loeb, so we wanted to supplement that with our small tools account and purchase 2 of those. The night vision equipment allows us to see things at night that we can't see without them. And we have a lot of areas of the township that at night are still pretty dark, and we don't have street lights everywhere, and the ability to see when we normally can't would be a great asset.
If you need to be tracking somebody down through a field on a burglary, this would be a great advantage, because if
Exactly.
you got out in my house, it's black.
I was gonna say, it's
Oh,
dark as night, as they say.
Yes, and with the incidents, it doesn't happen very often, but we're seeing more and more children that are missing, or even the elderly with the dementia issues that walk away in the middle of the night. Could be helpful with those situations, as well as a lot of times we'll get a traffic crash where we get to the crash and the driver's gone, and we don't know if they're laying out in the middle of the weeds somewhere, or if they've run because they're intoxicated. But either way, that ability would greatly aid us.
Pretty good use of low grant money too, in my opinion. Makes it certainly easier to just take a small amount out of our normal budgeting process.
And the purpose of the Loeb Foundation is to, one of the purposes, there's 3, but one of the purposes is to advance law enforcement in the rural areas of the county. And so their underlying principle is to not supplant funds that we would normally use, but to give us funds for things that we normally wouldn't be able to go
Building,
for.
well, you guys probably all know this, but the low money is, you mentioned rural departments, low money is not spent on anything in the cities. City fire or police. Dr. Loeb was a unique individual, and he was not fond of city governments, to say the least. And I know the bank, Levinson's National Bank manages the trust, and they have their guidelines, and they're the ones that decide if this is a good cause or not. And if they don't think it's a good use of the money, you're not gonna get it.
And make sure we spend it for what they want. They want to.
That's pretty simple. Okay, that's my opinion anyway. Is there a motion to direct the police department to purchase these, the EOTech night vision devices?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay?
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yeah.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. And then we have speed display signs, all traffic solutions.
This is the 2015 Loeb application.
Okay.
And we applied for, the speed signs that we have proven to be very popular and help with the speed complaints we have in the neighborhoods and elsewhere. And during the summer months, during the warm weather, I have a list of places that want those signs, and I keep people waiting in line to get them to their area of concern. And so the chief felt that a good expenditure this year with the Loeb funds would be to buy 2 more of those signs and replace our traffic, our speed control trailer that well, I know it's older than I am, or not older than I am, it's older than I've been here.
That old?
No, it wouldn't be that old, but it was purchased way before I got here, and it's shot, and I don't think we're gonna be able to repair it, but, so we got All Traffic Solutions, to replace that, and then give it, and sell us 2 new signs, for what the logo amount was this year.
So do we have another sign besides these two and plus the new trailer?
We have 2 signs
Okay.
that we use now, and we usually have to put them out as a pair, as a set, one facing one direction and one facing the other to get a good, accurate depiction of what's going on. There would be 2 more signs, so that would be a second set of signs that we could put out, and then we'd also have the trailer. The trailer isn't as flexible as the signs, but we do use the trailer a lot of times for signage, because you can program it to read different things. And
Let me jump in here a little bit, because I've gotten calls and had these deployed. These signs face, the opposite directions, and they don't turn them on for the first week. At least the visible display, so they collect data. They collect time of day and speed for all vehicles going down that street. So they collect for a week with the signs off, the data. Then the second week they turn them on and collect again in each direction. So then they get that report and can analyze, okay, do we have a speeding issue on the street? If so, is it a time of day? Is it a particular day, or whatnot? So these signs are really nice. They collect a lot of information for the police department.
And with this expenditure, we're basically increasing our ability by 50%.
exactly.
All right, anybody have any other questions? Is there a motion to make this purchase?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, are you combining the trailer and the signs together? Is that the motion, or are we doing one
Oh, I think-
each?
I think we're just doing the 10,000.
We gotta
Okay,
do
just
them
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, gosh.
Okay, Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah, Brian didn't throw a fit.
He's not here.
All right. On the other page, we do have the speed alert trailer and sign. And Foley's talked about this already. And again, part of the low grant funds, will pretty much take care of the whole
It
thing.
takes care of all of it this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 25,000 from Loeb this year, so.
Excellent, good job. Is there a motion or any discussion first, any additional discussion on the trailer? If not, is there a motion to approve this purchase?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. And we have a monthly report. Did I have had a chance to look at it? Anybody have any questions? Anything particular you'd like to point out, Sergeant?
No, sir, not really.
So there was a deployment of stop sticks?
Oh, yes, we did have a pursuit that began in Greene County. It was actually a carjacking, started with a carjacking in Montgomery County. The pursuit started in Greene County, came through the township. Our officers deployed stop sticks at 48 and 73, and then 73 in Stone Ridge, and got the vehicle. He continued on into the city of Springboro and was apprehended in Springboro. So, yeah.
Have you used those before? Or?
Yes, sir. They're very effective. Although I have seen people continue to drive on the rims of their vehicles. and
So
go
did he drive
sparks,
on his
too.
rims from Stone Ridge into the city?
Yeah, pretty much.
I was gonna ask that, because if there was a set at 48 and 73, and on here it says Country Brook Court, so I'm assuming that that's just,
Okay.
It was Country
so it's a Country Brook,
Yeah.
so he made it all the way into the city from Country Brook,
Yeah.
up that hill. Determined individual.
Yes. When they run, they are determined.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
He's gonna
that's
run
a fair point.
faster on his feet than
He may have.
We could have cut him on a bike.
That's another story. Anything else that you'd like to bring up, or any questions for Sergeant and the Police Department? Okay, moving on to the Fire District, we have Resolution 4777, resolution accepting a donation from the Enterprise Products again.
Similar to the police department, Enterprise Products places a heavy emphasis on safety in their industry with the petroleum products that they deal with. And as this is part of their annual investing into the community public safety services in the areas that they have assets that would promote their safety program.
Is there a motion to approve 4777?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have a purchase recommendation for mobile data computers, 6 of them, to replace them.
Yes, this is our 2015 low grant expenditure, the bulk of that. Last year, we replaced half of the fleet, which was 6 of them, and then now we're getting ready to replace the other half of the fleet. The units we're replacing are 8 years old, and we're starting to have hardware issues and things. So this will get us everything up to date and hopefully last us another 5 to 8 years.
Great. Anybody have any questions or comments about this purchase? Is there a motion to direct the fire department to purchase these mobile data computers?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
And we have the fire district's monthly report. Anything particular you'd like to point out to?
Just generally speaking, it was a busy month. Of course, October is the annual fire prevention week and month type of thing, so we were involved in a lot of fire prevention activities, over 800 school children, really hitting the Hear the Beep Where You Sleep campaign this year, which is emphasizing the importance of smoke detectors, of course the open house and many other tours and talks and things throughout the month. Call volume continues to be about a week to 2 weeks ahead of where we are last year, fluctuating. We continue to have a lot of concurrent calls. Yesterday we had 3 or 4 medics out in half an hour. So we continue to stay very, very busy.
Anybody have any questions for Tim of the monthly report?
I have a comment, Mr. Wade. The 1020 incident that you reported, those were dear friends of mine. And to both of you, they were very, very gracious for what you did. And if anybody saw the extent of that accident and what happened, and actually, Sergeant Cornett, I'm not sure if you know this, but it was Chris Christensen was in that. Chris and Sergeant Cornett go back a long way, played baseball together. But in any event, it was a bad accident, and it's in a Ford Escape. And they all 3 walked away. But they were very complimentary of the care they received and our officers, so just want to add that in.
Very nice.
I'll pass the word, thank you.
It's the 20th of October, and the Ford Escape was totaled. I mean, beyond, and cut, if you can imagine a Ford Escape cutting a telephone pole in half, hitting it sideways, it's pretty much what happened. So they had head on at 50 miles an hour, I think it was. Something like that.
The road was closed for 8.5 hours?
Yeah.
Is that the one at Bonehead?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, I think a car had stopped to make a left-hand turn, and an individual coming from behind didn't see it, swerved to try to miss, and the Escape tried to miss him. And it was a pretty impressive accident, but it was pretty significant damage to all the vehicles involved.
It's the second my mom and stepdad were involved in an accident that totaled their Ford Escape, and they both walked away, so I'm sold on Ford Escapes. Unbelievable. So.
Any other comments about the fire department's monthly report? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Zoning department monthly report.
Yes, sir. I can answer questions. We're still up, though this month was a election-esque October. You know, each October when there's election, things get a little slow. People are a little apprehensive, and it was down in numbers, but as soon as November hit, people started building again, so I don't know what's going on. But overall, we're still up from where we were last year.
Very good. Any questions for Jeff about his monthly report? Okay, road department monthly report?
Yeah, just currently let you know, we're slowly phasing down to get everything ready for the winter, working on the trucks and fixing everything that, before it goes wrong in the winter when we really need it, so we're knee deep in that right now. We've been through 2 trucks and hopefully we'll start a 3rd one on Monday, so.
Good deal. Anything else? Bring up from the road department.
Not unless you have questions.
Anybody else have anything? Anybody have any comments, questions?
Staff updates?
Staff up?
Is that where we're at?
We're at it.
Yeah, I do. I've talked to each one of you a little bit about, desire to potentially switch our insurance broker.
Yes.
Looked at a couple of the firms that we had entertained last year, and I'd like to see if we'd entertain a motion to designate Haran as our insurance broker, effective immediately.
That's fine with me. You guys good with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, is there a motion to move our insurance program, health insurance program to Haran and Associates?
Designate them as
As
your
our
broker of record,
broker of record.
effective immediately.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Peterspaw?
Yeah.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Okay, anything else? Staff up?
I had another thing, I don't know if you saw the I-75 bypass idea. I had just caught this in the newspaper, Bob Faulkner actually had pointed it out to me. But one of the concepts floated about, and I think the Warren County Commissioners have offered a no vote, like we don't support that idea, but it would connect in Franklin, at least this is the dotted line they're showing today. It is in lieu of replacing the Brent Spence Bridge. So it's a bypass of 75, just a concept that would connect in Franklin, come east, like through Clearcreek and down, through Morrow, and kind of just loop around that east side to avoid 75 and cross over 71, and then connect in Crittenden was the point where it connected to the south end, so that you could just avoid that 75 stretch altogether. There was an article in the paper, I guess OKI has facilitated some discussions about the potential for that concept. My personal opinion is it's probably not going to go anywhere, but I'm going to keep track of it because it might be a positive for us, it might be a negative, I don't really know. But
I saw it on Channel 19 yesterday, or 2 days ago.
Not in our lifetimes.
well, it'd be like a 25-year cycle to get the thing built, or but it's still going to raise some concerns from communities and residents alike.
Yeah.
Even just the discussion of it.
Yeah, I heard Cunningham talking about it yesterday. Yeah, so
My guess is it's an effort to make the Brent Spence situation more palatable. That's my personal opinion, but
Well, that makes sense.
showing them something that could be worse and they go with the original idea.
Well, I know that the new governor-elect is not in favor of a toll where Governor Beshear is, so that would change the discussion some.
Yes, it would.
well, that's a person opinion that should have done a long time ago and messed it up. But, oh well, nothing we can do about that. Anything else, Jack?
No, those were 2 things I had.
Okay, anybody else have anything particular to bring up? Yes, I do have this. Linda received this in the mail. This is a official ballot for the FSA election, committee election. And that's the, I don't know what that acronym really is for. It's a farm
Farm subsidy.
Farm Subsidy Association. It doesn't say on here. Anyway, this is asking us to vote for one candidate and mail this back in. And the 2 candidates are David Clark and Doug Schinkel, of which I know both of them very well, and they would both be very good, and I'd be darned if I want to pick one out.
My comment was going to be, we all 3
I mean,
own farms, and I'm
Doug-
assuming we all are going to vote on this personally.
Doug's a very good friend, And I know David Clark and his family, they're both large farmers. Clark's are a larger farming operation, but Shinkle's family's been farming forever.
Since they are asking for a government, opinion on that, I would suggest that the township just either pass a motion or whatever saying that you would, you know, that you're happy to work with either one of them, that they're both qualified candidates and you're, just so that, I always think if somebody asks for your opinion, you ought to give it to them, you know, if they went to the trouble of sending us something, but.
I agree. I don't have any problem doing that at all, saying, you know, we.
That you stand behind either one of them?
And who was it sent that to us?
Warren-
USDA.
Yeah, no, well, it's the Warren
It's Warren
County,
County.
it's Jess Campbell, what's
Yeah.
that?
Warren County Farm Service Agency.
Yeah.
FSA.
FSA, Service Agency, yeah.
You,
Been down there forever.
I was gonna say, you should've got, both of you should've got one today, yeah.
I haven't been home.
Yeah, they all came today, or at least mine did.
Well, looks like
We should've stayed
looks like
and
I'm
stayed with-
supposed to
When's
order.
it due?
December 7th, must be postmarked.
Let's talk to Brian.
Okay.
But, and I know both too, so.
Yeah,
As do I.
okay. Well, let's do that, and then if anything, we can sign it. If we do need to sign it, does not apply that we're a power of attorney or anything. Anyway, let's talk to Brian. We'll give this to you, and we'll talk to Brian next time when he's in.
Okay,
If you don't mind.
December 18th for the Christmas lunch, is that date work good? Okay.
We've decided to have our office Christmas party sometime in January, because nobody can make it.
Well, the only thing I was
We're
gonna,
having our office Christmas party Tuesday.
All right.
the only thing I was
Just
gonna
thinking
say,
about it.
Jack, was if anybody wants to bring their kids, and most of them are still gonna be in school that day, so.
Oh, that's a good
It makes no difference to me,
Don't want to come that bad anymore.
my two would come, but they expect candy, so, you know. It costs me one way or the other, but that's the only, Savannah and I have had that discussion over the last 4 years,
I
that,
mean, is there any reason not to have it on Monday?
I
I don't care.
Probably people take that, I don't, doesn't matter to me, I'll eat lunch any day, but
every day.
I eat every day. I just traditionally Friday's a day to do it, that's.
Right, and the following
Friday
Friday's
before
Christmas, so,
Christmas.
yeah, it's perfectly fine, that's just the only other thought that I had.
Yeah, there might be family plans for that week.
That whole
They
week,
are in
right,
school.
because most of them are out for that full 2-week period, so that's fine.
Jason, you could always go get your kids out of school for an hour.
Yeah,
We'll give them a note.
Yeah.
I'll write them a note.
Perfect, let's do that.
Like they're gonna do anything that day at school anyways.
Well, you're right about that.
Wait to get out at the end of the day.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yeah.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Thank you all very much.